How's it going, guys? My name is Zach with the movie Castle, and today we're going to be talking about Jakob's Wife from 2021, so a new movie, directed by Travis Stevens and stars horror icon Barbara Crampton. So, always great to see Barbara Crampton in a new movie, so I was really eager to pick this up. This is a Shudder movie. Shudder, the horror-exclusive streaming service that I always mention. I'm super appreciative of them for actually putting their stuff out on physical media, which not all streaming services do, but for us physical media heads, very, very grateful for that. And last week I covered another Shudder movie, Lucky, and I should have mentioned it there, but over the past 2 weeks, Shudder's put out quite a few movies, so as a movie nerd, really happy for that. It's just going to take me a while to get to them all because there's 4 of them that came out in relatively quick fashion. Jakob's Wife I'm covering right now. Lucky I covered last week. If you stayed to the end of the video, there'll be a Shudder playlist where you can find that review. But Seance looks pretty cool. And then 32 Malasana Street. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. But an interesting movie I don't know much about. I think people said Seance was supposed to be pretty good. So I'm definitely looking forward to checking these out as well. But yeah, a whole lot of Shudder stuff, and I'll probably do one a week. That should be a good pace. But anyway, this one was the one I was particularly excited for. Barbara Crampton, horror icon. Definitely check out anything she comes up in. You guys probably know her for Reanimator. She was in a lot of Stuart Gordon's H.P. Lovecraft stuff. You know, the main 3. And really, really excited to see her back in playing a vampire. A cool, classic, iconic horror creature. And she plays it really well with some fun vampire moments. But you also get, and one of this movie's biggest strengths, is it writes from all perspectives really well. A lot of movies would just say, these are the good guys, these are the bad guys, have at it. But this movie takes every character. Barbara Crampton, her husband, the vampire, and it doesn't make any one of them 100% good or 100% evil. And when they all clash, you see where everybody's coming from. And I feel like this is one of the movies that, if you have like a group of friends that are good at talking about stuff like this, you could really have an interesting discussion afterwards. Barbara Crampton is oppressed by her past life, but going out and being a vampire and eating people is definitely not the right solution. So there's a lot that you can discuss with this movie, and I really did like that it was written so well-rounded and very, very thoughtful, in addition to classic vampire fun. So this is a really cool movie, and I was really glad to watch it. And let's go ahead and talk more specifically. Let's talk about the plot. I'm not going to be doing any major spoilers, but I do want to say my piece on a few plot points and make sure you guys have a basic understanding as to what this movie's about. We open up in a small town where we meet Jakob, a pastor, or a minister rather, and his wife, Anne. And Anne, in a vampire movie, I kind of think her name must be a reference to Anne Rice, writer of Interview with the Vampire. Gotta be a fun Easter egg there. But you get a sense of this small town as well, and it's a really cool setting. A really realistic American small town, and to the point where we had to look it up and see, was this shot anywhere around here? And it actually wasn't shot anywhere around me, but it did have that feeling, it could be anywhere. It's a place you see in real life. It's peaceful and quiet, yet kind of boring because of that, but the movie uses that intentionally, So it's a small town when suddenly a member of Jakob's congregation, a younger woman, goes missing, and it's the talk of the town because not much is going on there. Jakob's wife, Barbara Crampton, Anne, is on a historical committee, and people are wanting to, there's an old mill on the outskirts of town that's no longer in operation. It's becoming derelict, and they want to revamp it and turn it into a new business, but she wants to make sure that they pay respect to the city's original architecture and history. So they hire an architect, a world-famous architect, to revamp it in the right way, to do it right. And the thing is, though, how this small town was able to get such a famous architect is he's actually from the town. So he's doing this for his hometown, but because he's from the town, he's actually someone that Barbara Crampton used to date, an old flame. They go and meet at this old abandoned mill, and when they meet there, he of course makes a romantic advance, and Barbara Crampton doesn't really know what to do about it. She loves her husband and has spent most of her life with him, but at the same time, she isn't feeling great where she is and likes the prospect of something new. Now, she's not sure exactly what she's going to do, but before they get too far, they're interrupted by a sound. They go and explore, and they find these big wooden boxes full of dirt and rats. And really quickly, a vampire comes and attacks them. The guy's dead, and we cut away before we see what exactly happens to Barbara Crampton, but she slowly walks home. She's distraught and she just wants to go to bed, but over the next couple days, she starts to see changes about her. You know, the wanting to go out, wanting to do more is amplified. She wants to take control of her life again. But there's also cons with this. She has the craving for blood, and she tries cow's blood, of course, but it doesn't quite work, doesn't quite have the hit, and she feels like she might be about to attack someone. So, not a great thing there, but you get a few other things where, you know, the sunlight hurts her. You know, it's not gonna burn her up instantly because she's not fully turned, but she starts to wear sunglasses, and she has a scarf that she always ties around her neck. So it's this really cool, iconic look with the movie, you know, the scarf to hide the bites. And there's also a scene, you know, they show it on the back cover. She goes to the dentist, and the dentist tries to use this UV light on her teeth to brighten them, and it of course makes her mouth catch on fire, and she has this weird burn mark, and she runs out of the dentist not knowing what to do. A classic scene there. So you get the sense of transformation, and initially she's hiding this from her husband, but of course he's going to find out, and of course other people like the law enforcement might start to get suspicious as well. All this is going on when she starts to feel the call of the master, the old-timey vampire that turned her, and Barbara Crampton is being pulled in several directions, not really knowing what to do, and that's where we get into the meat and the bones of this story. Let's go ahead and talk about specifics that I really liked with this movie. The atmosphere, I mentioned it briefly. Small-town American atmosphere, really cool, really realistic places. These really do look like places that I might have been to, and the people feel like people I might have met. I really do like that. Now, it's intentionally quiet and kind of boring. It uses that on purpose because there is a vampire in this movie, and when you play so much of this movie straight in real world, when the vampire elements come in, they're so big and bloody and jarring, and it really makes it pop, you know? Now, the beginning of this movie, there are parts that are a little bit slow, but it's worth it for some of the payoff scenes, and yeah, to have vintage Americana collide violently with vampires really does work, and I love the vampire stuff in this movie too. One thing I want to mention, there is a ton of blood in this movie. You know, so many movies, the vampires, a little blood down the cheek, and it's not that bad, you know? But this one, crazy, over-the-top blood. There is a fair bit of blood and gore in this, which I really do have to praise, because you don't always get that nowadays. And some cool blood and gore, some very cool vampire moments. One thing I really liked, and I didn't know this going in, Barbara Crampton's not the only vampire in this movie, which makes, some cool other scenes, some cool fights with the other vampires. And in particular, the Master. The old-timey, very Nosferatu, very Salem's Lot-looking vampire. Really, really cool design. Really classic, creepy vampire. And I really love this character. I really love this character design. And it's really cool. There is some hardcore vampire stuff in here. And I really did like that this didn't play 100% calm art house movie. And when it went to the horror, it really went for the horror and the gore and the creatures, And I really did like that, and I really have to applaud it. Now, I talked about the atmosphere and the vampires, getting into what this movie's known for, what people will talk about for this movie, and that's the characters. You have Barbara Crampton, a small-town pastor's wife, Jacob's wife, and she's doing her part. She's getting involved in the community. She's unfulfilled. Now, the vampire stuff is a way for her to live a more interesting life, and she really likes that. But at the same time, it doesn't shy away from the fact that, she is killing people. It's not a sustainable lifestyle. I think Jakob says that once. And it is, a bad thing. It's a bad thing that's getting her what she wants, but she doesn't know 100% what to do, Jacob's cruelty to her is really unintentional. Jacob's doing fine, so he thinks his wife must also be doing fine, and he doesn't mean to be mean to her. He just sees that everything's in its place, and he doesn't really know that she's suffering, And that's one thing I like, talking about Jacob's character, is so many other movies would have done Jacob's character differently. So many other movies would have said, it's fun being a vampire, ha ha ha, and they would have just made Jakob the villain. But they really say here, Jakob is a product of his world, he works very well in it, and you do see that he does try to be nice and compassionate. It's just his lack of understanding, and you see when he talks to his wife later just how much he didn't know what was going on. So I really did like that they said, hey, there's a reason these characters have stayed together for 30 years. There is a bond. They do love each other. And I really do like that this movie, sometimes they're working against each other, but when they work with each other, when you see them team up and you see why this relationship does work, and it has worked for 30 years, it makes it a lot more interesting and well-rounded. It's definitely flawed and things do need to change, but you see why it worked for so long, and you see that Jacob's not really a bad guy, You'd see this scene, where he's with his church, and you see him caring for people, but you also see one time where he leaves his church, there's two young kids hanging out in his car, smoking marijuana, and he goes up, that's illegal, you should get out of here. And he's like, oh yeah, what are you gonna do about it? And right when he's not looking, you see Jakob just reach forward like, like a martial arts expert, grab the marijuana from his hand without even trying and taking it away from the kid. He's like, now get out of here, And you really see, that sort of tough atmosphere behind him, that he can just reach and grab that really quick, He's law-abiding, but he's not a dork. He's actually kind of tough. And I do like just how multi-dimensional both of them are and their relationship is. And you can really get into a big discussion as to what works and what doesn't, And that's the thing, is they bring in the vampirism, and you get how do they work through that. You get a small-town pastor whose wife is wanting to kill people. Can he cover that up? Can he help her? And if so, in what capacity? And there are lines she's willing to cross, but he's not. And ultimately, it is a vampire, and they don't, sugarcoat it. it is a vampire, it is evil, you know, and even though it brings a lot of these good things with it, it's still vampirism, you know? And I really did like that there's just a lot to unpack and a lot to talk about. And, you know, it does lead to some funny moments and some very serious moments as well. And I really, you know, I did like this movie and the relationship it set up. I would definitely recommend it now, you know, pure popcorn movie fans. Like I said, it did go a little slow in some parts, and it's not an over-the-top comedy, which I kind of thought it might be. But if you like a little bit more serious movies, and if you like to talk about what characters, you know, mean or what they were thinking and, you know, who was in the right, there's a whole lot to unpack here. And if you have a group of friends that you can get in discussions with, you know, probably English major people would like it or something, I don't know. But there is a lot to unpack, and I really did enjoy this movie. One of the better Shudder movies. And always great to see Barbara Crampton. Anyway, to everyone who's watched so far, thank you for watching. I hope I didn't ramble too much. To everyone who's liked and subscribed, thank you. You really are helping the channel out. And in addition to all this, I'll put a relevant playlist on the bottom. That should be my Shudder movies playlist. So if you want to see more me talking about more Shudder stuff, you can click there and see more. Anyway, have a good day. I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Relevant playlist on the bottom. Have a good day now.